Hey, what's up guys? Dylan here, aka the Bass Fiend, aka that's Mr. Bass Fiend to you. Today I want to give you guys music theory in a nutshell. We're going to take you through all the basics from half steps, whole steps, chromatic scale, major scale, triads, seventh chords, just the basic building blocks for music. I'm going to show you on piano, I'm going to show you on bass, and the bass stuff can be applied to basically any fretted instrument. The other thing is, this is my method when I want to learn a new instrument. First thing I got to do is get the technique to make sound on the instrument, but once I got that, this is where I go. Chromatic scale, whole half, major scale, triads, and seventh chords. And maybe what I just said makes absolutely no sense to you right now, but that's okay, we'll get you there. So stick around, I got a PDF down below. So click the link, you can download that and follow along with that. And I'll see you guys on the other side. Let's go make some music. So the first thing I want to show you is what's called the chromatic scale. And that is basically all 12 notes. The chromatic scale is the first thing that I try to learn anytime I pick up a new instrument, because I want to make sure I know where all the notes in order are. Right? Being able to sing that is really good too. Da 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 da. Right? Being able to sing that and hear that is going to be super helpful for you. But anyway, 12 notes in the chromatic scale. That's the first thing I want to know. These are called half steps. Half step, half step, half step, half step, half step. And then we also have whole steps. Two half steps makes a whole step. On a piano, that's whether you're on white keys or black keys. That's a whole step, that's a whole step, that's a half step, that's a half step, that's a half step. Again, chromatic scale is all half steps. I do not know all the words to the chromatic scale. That stupid little phrase helped me learn to sing that scale. So, first thing I want to know is all the half steps on my instrument. If you can make music with your chromatic scale, that's pretty interesting. Then you're starting to get pretty comfortable, right? Let's look at the chromatic scale on the bass. This idea applies to guitar, ukulele, other fretted instruments. I won't say every fretted instrument, but most fretted instruments are going to have this same kind of idea to them, where each fret is one half step. Remember, we looked at the half steps on the piano. So same thing on the bass. Each fret is one half step. So playing a chromatic scale, if I go 12 frets, so first fret up to the 13th fret is 12 frets. I get one octave, right? So that's my chromatic scale. Again, I want to be able to play every note in order on each string, right? But it's the same from string to string. One fret is a half step, and 2 frets is a whole step, right? And that's anywhere on the bass. Half step, whole step. The next thing I want to know is the major scale. The formula for a major scale, you can see it really easily on C major on the piano. The major scale, like all the scales, is a pattern of whole steps and half steps. The white keys on the piano make the C major scale. That's that do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. sound that you've been listening to your whole life. Almost all the music you've ever listened to and appreciated has been based on this major scale. And then the more complicated stuff is still based on it, but maybe a couple different ones, or looking at it from a different angle, or even based on it in that we're specifically trying not to use that. So this sound is extra familiar to you. You know this. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. You know that sound. You've been hearing it your entire life. If I go, you know that note. You hear what's supposed to come next. So let's look at the formula. Right? We got whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. Okay? Whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And really what that is whole, whole, half, up a whole step, whole, whole, half. Okay? And so that's the second thing that I do when I'm learning a new instrument, is I go and look for all the whole, whole halves on my instrument. Okay? So if I start on C, that's whole, whole, half. If I start on C sharp, that's whole, whole, half. I start on D, that's whole, whole, half. E flat, E. Sounds like the baseball song, right? So that's all 12 of my whole, whole halves. And what I can do from that is I can make any major scale. So if I start on C, and then go up a whole step to my next whole, whole half, that's going to give me a C major scale. Okay. If I start on C sharp, find the whole, whole half, up a whole step to G sharp, that gives me a C sharp major scale. These aren't necessarily the best fingerings for these scales, but it helps you see it. Okay? Start on D, same thing. Whole, whole, half, right? Up a whole step to A, whole, whole, half. And every time, no matter what note you start on, if you find the first whole, whole, half, up a whole step to the second whole, whole, half, you got yourself a major scale. Let's do one more, F sharp. Whole, whole, half, up a whole step to C sharp, whole, whole, half. That's my F sharp major scale. Again, not necessarily the best fingering for it, but it'll help you find that scale. So what I do, again, just to reiterate, so far, I find my chromatic scale, then I find all the whole, whole halves on the instrument, and then I combine those to find all my major scales. Let's find those whole, whole halves on the bass. Bass is a little different because all my whole, whole halves are going to look the same no matter where I play them, but there's more than one way to play it, okay? So I'm going to start on A, I'm the 5th fret of my E string, and let's just look at along one string like we were looking at the chromatic scale. So I want to go whole step, half step, right? I said 2 frets is a whole step, and 1 fret is a half step. So there you go, whole, whole, half, okay? But I don't necessarily want to just play everything on one string. I want to be able to play on one string. I want to be able to play horizontally on my bass, but I also want to be able to play vertically, because this is like, I got 4 pianos kind of on my bass, and the guitar's got 6, or your 6-string bass or whatever you got, right? These are all each its own piano. Okay, so we get 2 dimensions on the bass instead of just 1 dimension on the piano. So whole, whole, half, right? But I want to start bringing that this way. Okay, so I can go whole, whole, and then that's the same note. That's my D, there's another D. Right, so most of the time we tune our bass in fourths. So this right there, that's whole, whole, half. It doesn't look like a half step, but it is, if you hear it. Same note. Okay, whole, whole, half. Okay, the next one, if we start on our middle finger, we got whole, whole, half. Right? See, same sound. Okay, and then if we take it one other step further, whole, whole, half. So I got 4 different ways that I can play that whole, whole, half. And now those 4 shapes are going to work on whatever note I start on the bass, right? So if I start here, whole, whole, half. If I start here, right? Doesn't matter because all my strings are the same distance apart. So all my shapes anywhere on the bass work, right? But I got to know 4 different shapes. As opposed to the piano, it's just really one shape. Okay, so if I combine those, then I can start making major scales on the bass. So then I go up a whole step, right? Or whole step. Okay, so that's an A major scale because I'm starting on A, but it doesn't matter where I start. The same thing's going to work. Whole step, or, okay, see how I'm combining this whole step with this whole step, right? So I can take the same one like this, or I could take 2 different ones. That one, right? Or combine them in weird ways, right? And that'll help you navigate all around the bass. If you want to start taking that to another whole step further, pun there, whole step. If you want to take that further, check out my video on modes on the bass because that takes this to a complete other level where you can really start seeing this major scale all over your bass. Okay guys, thanks for checking that out. I hope it was helpful for you. We got a PDF down below so you can keep following along. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave me a comment and keep an eye out for next week. We're going to go over the intervals of the major scale. Thanks guys, have a good one.